Welcome to the Balkan Buffet. Chances are high you've come across some of Alphonse Mucha's art, but chances are higher you haven't heard of his connection to Bosnia and Herzegovina. Today, we'll discuss the fascinating story of Alphonse Mucha's involvement in the Bosnia Pavilion during the 1900 Paris World Exposition. I'll discuss nation-building efforts by Bosnia's neighbors, Croatia and Serbia, and then the Austro-Hungarian response to those nation-building efforts. Finally, we'll look at the main course and discuss Alphonse Mucha's role in the Bosnia Pavilion. But before we get there, let's get a little appetizer and discuss the historical context of Bosnia. Bosnia's history is marked by its strategic importance and diverse cultural heritage. For centuries, it was part of the Ottoman Empire, which left a lasting influence on its culture and social structure. The Congress of Berlin in 1878 marked a significant turning point, placing Bosnia under Austro-Hungarian administration, though it remained officially under Ottoman sovereignty until 1908. Under Ottoman rule, Bosnia had developed a unique blend of Eastern and Western cultures. However, as the 19th century progressed, nationalist movements across Europe began to take shape, influencing the region's political landscape. The Austro-Hungarian Empire's acquisition of Bosnia was part of a broader strategy to assert dominance in the Balkans and counter the influence of neighboring Serbia and Croatia. Now let's look at some nation-building efforts in Bosnia by its neighbors. During the 19th and early 20th centuries, Bosnia became the focal point by nation-building efforts from its neighbors, Serbia and Croatia. Each sought to incorporate Bosnia into their own national identities. Serbia wanted a greater Serbia, and then Croatia wanted to unite the South Slavs. But this often intersected with Bosnia's own complex identity. Now let's focus on some major figures that shaped the nation-building efforts in Bosnia during the 19th century. To begin, Vuk Karadzic, who lived from 1787 to 1864, was a key figure in the cultural revival of the South Slavs. As a Serbian linguist and philologist, Karadžić played a pivotal role in standardizing the Serbian language and documenting South Slavic folklore. His work in Bosnia helped to foster a sense of shared cultural heritage among the South Slavic peoples, influencing the region's linguistic and cultural landscape. Dr. Edin Hajdar Pasic, in his book, Who's Bosnia?, states that Vuk Karadzic made attempts to find, quote-unquote, the land of the people, and designated Bosnia and Herzegovina as the places where the quote-unquote purest and most correct Serbian is spoken. And he believed it was less influenced by other languages and dialects. His ideas and linguistic standards were the foundations for the later Serbo-Croatian language, which was based on the same dialect of Shtokavian from Eastern Herzegovina. But Karadžić, throughout his life, only referred to the Serbo-Croatian language as Serbian. Karadžić's efforts were instrumental in promoting literacy and cultural awareness. He collected folk songs, tales, and customs, which he published and disseminated, thereby strengthening the cultural bonds among the South Slavs. Additionally, his work laid the groundwork for future nation-building efforts. Now, let's look at attempts at nation-building by another character. So, Ivan Jukic, who lived from 1818 to 1857, was a Franciscan friar from Bosnia and Herzegovina, whose life, especially his cultural and political work, left an impact on the cultural history of the country. Having seen the insurgency of the Bosnian Muslim nobility, led by Husein Gradašević against the Ottomans, inspired in Jukic the sense of things like liberal civil order, equality, and national freedom for the South Slavs. And he also supported the national independence of similar movements in Serbia and Croatia. An excerpt from his work is a good representation of his viewpoints. He states, "We Bosnians, the once famous people, now that we are barely alive, our friends of science see me as heads detached from the Slavic tree and pity us. It is time to awake from long-lasting negligence. Give me the cup, and from the well of apprehension, inexhaustibly gain knowledge and wisdom. Firstly, let me try to cleanse our hearts from prejudice, reach for the books and magazines. Let's see what the others did so that we can use the same means, that our nation of simple people from the darkness of ignorance to the light of truth we bring." Jukic used the Bosnian Muslim population in his nation-building cause. Dr. Hajdar Pašić, in his book Who's Bosnia, uses the term brother with parentheses around other to show that Jukic viewed the Bosnian Muslims with quote-unquote deep ambivalence and anxiety, yet at the same time stated the Turks shared their national language, Croatian, as well as folklore. The word Turks at the time was used by Balkan Christians to refer to Ottoman Muslims, and in this case specifically Bosnian Muslims. Related to art, both Serbian and Croatian nationalists used what Dr. Hajdar Pašić termed the sad Bosnia trope. Some themes in this trope included slavery, captivity, and freeing the Raya, which was the non-Muslim population, from Ottoman rule. The national suffering even gained a gendered and sexual sadistic dimension where national suffering was personified in the feminine form. This includes the principal female victim and her male avengers resisting Turkish penetration. A visual example of the feminization of national suffering is Cermak's 1861 painting, The Abduction of a Herzegovinian Woman. The trope of youth also became widely used by nationalists, and images of heroism in folk epics was especially prevalent. Similar to the trope of sad Bosnia, the image of the youth was used in which a youth would take revenge for the enslaved Raya, again, the non-Muslim population of the Balkans. Hajdar Pašić uses the example of the death of a 15-year-old Bosnian Muslim student, Salih Shahinagić, and how both the Croatian nationalists and Serbian nationalists used his death in solidarity with the Royal High School pupil strike as a symbol of a victim dying for his nation. But the transition from Ottoman rule into Austro-Hungarian rule brought difficulty for the nationalists in identifying co-nationals and in transferring feelings of patriotism to the masses. Dr. Hajdar Pašić mentions Karadzic, who was the prime minister of Serbia in the 19th century, in his political document titled Načrtanje, translated as the plan in English, in which Serbia's nationalizing mission is detailed. The main goal was to, quote-unquote, win over all the Serbian peoples surrounding Serbia. But saw the lack of popular support for the mission as an obstacle and blamed it on the local populations due to their quote-unquote simpleness. Other Serbian nationalists tried to win over the Muslim population, but were ultimately disappointed in their mission. Let's move on to the main dish. The Bosnia Pavilion became more than just an artistic statement. It became a political statement, an effort to show that Bosnia was modern and to integrate it into the Austro-Hungarian Empire. But more importantly, it was an effort by the Austro-Hungarians to counter the nation-building efforts by Serbia and Croatia. The Austro-Hungarians promoted the ancient origins of Bosnian Muslims by tying them to the Bogomils, who were a heretical Christian sect believed to have its origins in the 10th century, while the Serbian and Croatian nationalists countered the attempts to create Bosnian Muslim distinctiveness with claims of Austro-Hungarian engagement as an attempt to divide and rule over the South Slavs. The intent of the Bosnian Pavilion was to create an image of the peaceful encounter of two cultures and civilizations, the Slav and the Muslims, as well as the Western and Oriental. Although Europe welcomed the young Austro-Hungarian Empire, the general sentiment was that it could hardly compete with the older and grander empires. The French press at the time even went so far as to refer to the Hungarian pavilion as architectural goulash. However, the Bosnian Pavilion was well received and drew attention to the cultural and political complexities of Bosnia. It underscored the Austro-Hungarian Empire's commitment to showcasing the potential of its newest territory and being able to integrate it into their diverse empire. Alphonse Mucha's role in this project highlighted the intersection of art and politics, making the pavilion a significant historical landmark. Before getting into Alphonse Mucha's involvement in the Bosnia Pavilion specifically, let's look at his life. Alphonse Mucha lived between 1860 and 1939. He was a Czech painter and decorative artist, best known for his distinctive Art Nouveau style. Mucha's career took off after his 1894 poster for Sarah Bernhardt's play Gismonda. His work became synonymous with the Art Nouveau movement, characterized by intricate ornamental designs, beautiful flowing lines, and rich color. And for me personally, flowers everywhere. And can be seen everywhere even today. Chances are you've come across one of his famous works, but not known it was Mucha maybe. Mucha's artistic journey took him from humble beginnings to international acclaim. His posters, illustrations, and designs captivated audiences with their elegance and innovation. By the time he was approached to work on the Bosnia Pavilion, Mucha had already established himself as a leading figure in the world of art. Furthermore, Mucha's lifelong desire was to use art for the elevation of mankind, and this becomes very clear in his work for the Bosnian Pavilion. And he didn't want to be known only as a renowned creator of posters and panels. In 1900, Alphonse Mucha was commissioned to design the Bosnia Pavilion. The 1900 World Exposition in Paris was important since it bid farewell to the 19th century. This exhibition was meant to showcase the white Europe and it being civilized. This was important, especially for the Austro-Hungarian Empire, because it wanted to showcase Bosnia as modern and incorporate it into its empire. Mucha's work on the pavilion was meticulous and inspired. He incorporated traditional Bosnian designs and symbols, aiming to present Bosnia's rich cultural tapestry to an international audience. The pavilion featured a mix of architectural elements, artwork, and artifacts that collectively told the story of Bosnia's past and present. Mucha saw the 1900 World Exhibit as an opportunity to express his ideas about the life, the place of man on earth, and the path man should choose. Mucha designed the menu for the popular restaurant in the Bosnia Pavilion. On the cover is a Bosnian girl in folk costume carrying a tray with a jug of Turkish coffee, cups, and a sugar bowl. But his most important task was the decoration of the central hall of the Bosnia and Herzegovina Pavilion. The Bosnian Pavilion would showcase the enlightened administration of Austria, which would lead to the blossoming of Bosnia and Herzegovina. Alphonse Mucha was inspired by Bosnia's landscape, its unspoiled countryside, and the ethnographic purity of the people and the folk art, similar to Vuk Karadzic. Opposite of the entrance at ground level was a panorama of Sarajevo created by the artist Adolf Kaufmann. And above the panorama were Mucha's designs. Here, he placed the scene, Bosnia offers her products to the World Exhibition. Bosnia was personified by a young girl sitting on a throne. She points to people on both sides of her as they bring various fruits from the land, as well as bringing animals. Above was a frieze where scenes from Bosnia's history referred to by Mucha and his contemporaries as the Bosnian cycle, starting with prehistoric times and ending in the present day, their present day. So the prehistoric period included figures of nomads, blacksmiths, and carpenters. The classical period included figures of women and men pouring wine. The Slav arrival is depicted with the priest stretching out his hands to a sacrificial fire. Another section has the first Christian evangelists and the chastised Bogomils. The coronation of the King of Bosnia is also included. And then the three major religions of Bosnia are depicted next. So Islam is depicted by showing the builders of a mosque. Orthodoxy shows the blessing of water. And finally, Catholicism shows a confirmation scene. The top band shows selected scenes from Bosnian legends, and they encircled the whole space. And one of the remaining scenes we have is the legend of Iva and Anica. Here, he attempted to present the somber and tragic qualities a la the sad Bosnia trope that we came across earlier. So the pavilion was well received and drew attention to the cultural and political complexities of Bosnia. It underscored the Austro-Hungarian Empire's commitment to showcasing their newest territory's potential and integrating it into their diverse empire. To wrap up our feast, we can see Alphonse Mucha's role in the Bosnia Pavilion and the fascinating history of art and politics. It highlights the interplay of cultural expression with nation building, set against the backdrop of a rapidly changing Europe. With that, I hope you've enjoyed today's episode. And an amazing way to thank your host is to hit the like, subscribe button, or even better, comment below, especially if you have a topic for a future episode. Bye! Vidimo se.